evening to a lovely Tuesday night here in the state of Minnesota. That's right. What is it? Why is it lovely? It's because it's not sub-zero. Right, Bill?
It's true. It's not Sub-Zero.
Although
Close enough.
it's cold and wet and windy and feeling that way. But tonight, we're going to warm up our TV, computer monitors. No, probably cell phones, maybe iPads. Yeah.
Something.
Something. As we talk a little bit about interactive with my good friend, Bill Lage. Good evening, Bill.
John, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that you have a lovely show because of me. I agree. It's lovely.
Exactly.
So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. You've been so well known for your beauty and elegance and over the years.
It's my superpower.
It is, and we're going to bask in that tonight. But tonight's show is brought to you by DJ Event Planner. DJEventPlanner.com is one of our big sponsors for DJNTV. It's a CRM tool that will allow you to go and connect with people through your website. They can request information. They can do a digital contract, sign a contract, make payments, can keep track of everything. And it's all in one suite of tools at our website, tools, djeventplanner.com. And that's right below us, actually, right now. There it is, right there. Right there, yes. The link is there. Okay, so Bill, for those of you who have never met you, let's give them kind of the little elevator speech of who you are, where you work today, what type of events you do, and then we're going to kind of go and talk about the old days. But, where's Bill Lage today in the industry?
Well, right now in the industry, I've been DJing for 30 years.
Yeah, see, now you're going backwards. I want to talk about Bill Lage today.
You want to go backwards?
Well, I don't want to go. I don't want to talk. The history is the part where we're going to. It's like an onion. We're going to peel the onion, and right now we're looking at the outside of it, and then we're going to go peel, and then we're going to, and then okay, that analogy just isn't working for me, but.
I'm just a simple caveman DJ. Your ways scare me. This internet stuff is freaky.
It's freaky.
Please be nice to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, where am I at today? Today, I am a 30-year vet. See, I'm still a 30-year vet.
Yeah, you just
but
I've
been DJing a long dang time is what the answer is.
You have.
And I'm in Shakopee, Minnesota. I'm also enjoying the cold and the wind and the wet and the things. Ironically, my furnace even went out in my house today, so it's going to be a chilly ass night tonight. So chilly booty night.
Hopefully the Wolves win, so that'll put some heat in.
Yeah,
that's what you're hoping for.
The Wolves will win tonight.
And what kind of events are you doing when you're going mobile and such these days?
So these days I focus mainly on weddings. However, I do have a really big following of family dances where it's going to be like your elementary school, junior high style dances where I can still play some of the old school songs, the oldies, the clean stuff. Some of my interaction shtick really works well when it comes to those type of events because, again, it's all about the experience more than the music. Now, I'm not doing as many school dances like high schools, homecomings, proms, because literally the music has gotten tougher to DJ and connect with people, especially even at our elevated age. Right, John? So
yeah, and that's as long as we're gonna kind of, I guess we're not gonna go back. We're gonna bounce around here, but let's dig into that. At one time, you and I were performing for a lot of schools throughout, the kind of the Western Minnesota and the Eastern North Dakota area. There were times where we were doing 2 or 3 school events in the fall, especially a week.
Yep.
Things have changed a little bit with that, but let's kind of flash back to some of those days where we were going to these schools and bringing a level of interaction that they hadn't seen. And let's kind of talk a little bit about why was that part of your show early on when you were starting to do that?
So it's fun to talk about that because, like I said, I used to think I was literally a school dance DJ almost exclusively. In fact, weddings were kind of almost secondary for when I was back in, if you will, my heyday 10, 20 years ago now. Why was the interactive important was because, again, that's what the admins wanted. They wanted clean, and I always told them, I do clean, fun, positive dances. That's what I do. I focus on music. Again, I will play the hits, but they're all radio edits, and I'll even take it to another level, and that's where the interactive side of things will come, where I would maybe even, I know there's a song or a part that's coming up that the radio edit is still not good enough. I will kill the music completely, and I'll yell in the microphone, and now everybody scream, and they all go, ah! And then I fade it back up, past that part that would be controversial. And so even just an interactive of a vocal cue like that really went a long way. The admins loved that. The people who were paying the money to have me come out, they thought that was the best thing ever. Again, it was a win-win for both sides. The other thing with interaction stuff was, again, I did a lot of giveaways, whether it be back in the day glow sticks, the light up glow sticks. Those used to be new back when we were starting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. And then we got into the LED stuff and the foam light up batons, but that's newer stuff. But again, back in the day, having just things like giveaways or competitions, youth and kids and junior high kids especially, they all want to win. They all want to be the best. Or I'd tease, we're going to have a dance contest. My goal tonight is to find the best dancer here. So show me those moves. Even just having those things, next thing you know is they're trying their hardest to win this imaginary contest that doesn't even exist. But again, having those type of cues, though, that interaction with the crowd, again, helped kind of create the following, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. I think in the early 2000s, that was a huge part of our shows. As for those of you who don't know, Bill and I did a lot of things together with our shows at that time, and shared a lot of things. Traveled to do DJ conventions and such together, and that was part of what we did. And the schools absolutely loved it, and that was both the public schools, and we were doing many of the private Christian schools that were, or different religious schools that were out there and such, and it worked wonderfully.
Yeah, it almost turned into, it was less of a dance and more of a show, more of a concert.
Very much
where literally we're on a stage. Now, we even called it at one point, it was the Lage and Young stage show, if I'm not mistaken. And we even did it at county fairs and such, and we had a lot of fun with it, where we would have people, come up on stage and show us their best dance moves, and again, we'd make it about them less than us, because again, we're the ones who are literally facilitating this fun. Or we'll get them in a big circle, and we'll run out in the middle of the circle, and then we'll have people come out and dance and show us their best dance moves and kick them out of the circle, and just play and have fun. I think it goes back to even some of the things I learned at some of the DJ conventions that we attended was, play. Play is an important piece to it, where, we want to have fun because, again, we want to keep doing this for years. But we want to make sure that they're having fun. Their experience is what matters at the end of the day.
And we're going to jump back into it, but let's kind of move forward a little bit. And it seems to me that about 5 years ago, between probably 5 and 10 years ago, the interest in that started to dwindle. I just talking to advisors at schools or different people in charge, they lost interest. The kids that had seen some of the activities were like, we're not into that as much. And were you starting to feel that in your contacts and such, that they were just kind of starting to lose interest in those types of things?
There's been some shows where I feel almost set up to fail. I come to them and I say, I'm going to try this. This has worked every show I do. And literally, they'll just literally sit down on the middle of the dance floor. So again, it's all about expectation. If they come in thinking they're going to see a show and be a part of a show, then they're usually going to play along. But if they're thinking it's just a dance, and then if I say, I need a volunteer, and they're going, screw you, old man, I'm not going to come up and be your little monkey dancing, that's when it's going to fail, when it's like, again, like you were saying, there was a shift. There really has been a shift where, kids kind of got a little bit more bolder. They got, we're in control of our lives and we don't have to listen to you. Almost like kind of giving us the middle finger to a point. But sometimes actually they would do that. Yep. But having that ability to where they really just said, we don't want to do that. We want to do our own thing. We just want to listen to music. In fact, I saw this kind of really take place with the creation of headphones or earbuds and such, because people will come to the dances. They don't care what we're playing. They want to listen to what they want to listen to. So it's that whole idea of choice.
Yeah, and that I've actually seen a couple of times where kids were wearing their AirPods at the dance. And it's like, okay, are they doing noise canceling? But that even with music doesn't work that well. It's like, what a head scratcher.
It's more of a social event. They're there because of their friends. They're there to interact with their friends, and they're there to, make a scene, show up, and be there. They're not necessarily there to partake and to dance and to do what we have on our agendas.
and that was such a huge part of that show. And I think, for a period of time, it was what drove many referrals. We're at this school, we're doing this one, and then somebody from another neighboring school saw that and was like, whoa, that's completely different, or that's so cool. We want to have that. And the early on when the Idol thing first came on, we started doing the Idol, and what was the guy's name? Cooper. It was the Coop from.
I remember Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Remember, he was one of our first ones who participated in an Idol contest for us, and oh my gosh, he was good. He was good, but he was good. He was singer wise, he was good, but he knew how to work a crowd, or he learned how to work a crowd really, really quickly. And that was very, very
well.
fun.
If I remember, the reason why I remember it is because the crowd was literally chanting his name.
Oh my gosh,
Cooper, and I go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And we had so much fun with it. And then after the contest, we kept going back to it because again, it's that whole callback. If something works, run with it.
Yeah, and they ate that up. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, it was a good time. I had forgotten about that. Thanks for reminding me about that.
That was a time. But yeah, that's been one of the disappointing things is that as the dances have progressed. You mentioned when we were off air there that junior high dances, that was an area in which I wasn't doing as much of the getting the kids on the stage because generally in 7th and 8th grade they're feeling a little bit weird, but there were still things that the follow me type of dances and things like that. So we'll get back to junior high. Talk a little bit about, because you've done a lot of follow me and you've designed a lot of follow me. Kind of talk a little bit about what that is for someone who's never heard of a follow me type dance.
So you think of it as, you have your cha-cha slides, your Cupid shuffles, your hokey pokeys, things like that. Very simple instructional type of songs. I learned a long time ago from a great friend of mine. I consider him a great friend. He probably barely knows me. But Todd Mitchum, a guy in the industry who has been around for quite a while, he kind of had this saying said, watch me, do what I do. And I took that to heart. And I've learned a lot of dances over my years from watching other DJs. And again, I've taken them and I've changed them, made them my own. In fact, fun fact, I took a dance from you, John. I took a dance called the Taebo dance, which is Taebo moves, like you're doing the punches, the Taebo punches from Billy Banks back in the day. I turned that into something called the Catholic dance of all things. Now, here's where it gets fun. I'm going to tell this whole story because I think this is an important story and an important part about why I'm an interactive DJ. I would do that. I did this youth rally. And I said, I'm going to do this thing called the Taebo dance. And I did the dance, and they loved it. The kids were like going, that's the best thing ever, because it's yet another line dance that they can go and they can do for their things. And I thought nothing of it, and I left. I came back the next year, and someone met me and greeted me and said, hey, it's DJ Bill. It's that guy who does the Catholic dance. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? They said, this one. And they showed me the Taebo dance. And to which he told me the story. He said, yeah, when you taught that at our youth rally, all the people would do that at their school dances, their homecoming, their winter formal, their proms. And all the other kids would go, hey, look at those Catholic kids. They're doing that Catholic dance. And I thought to myself, that is marketing gold right there. And so I started marketing it as the Catholic dance. And believe it or not, John Young and Bill Lage went down to Kansas City and we did the Catholic dance because it's his dance, the Taebo dance. And we did it in front of 20,000 youth at a National Catholic Youth Convention on a stage. And I've done it since then after some major acts like Toby Mac. I've done it after For King and Country. These are major Christian acts. And I was able to do that on a large stage over in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Field. And it's just been amazing to be able to do that type of interactive line dance that literally John made up or stole it from someone else. I have no idea. Who knows at this point? But now I've seen it on things like TikTok. And we'll talk about TikTok, I hope, a little bit too, because if you think about interactive dancing, TikTok is what we are talking about at the end of the day. But this is a thing that, again, scaled very well for me. I've made money off of it because, again, this little dance, which has nothing to do with Catholicism, it only is all about the fact that we're all doing it at the same time. It's kind of like a Macarena style dance, and kids loved it and ate it up.
So, again, that's a great example of of the kind of a follow me type of a dance.
Yes.
When we kind of walk us through how you would set that up for success, because that you want that crowd to be doing what you're doing, as you say, that line. For someone who's never done something like that, and we used a similar phraseology for that dance, or if we were doing, you had numerous songs you were doing a follow me type dance. How do you set those up for success when it comes to getting ready to play the song?
So here's an example of that. One I do, there's a song called Hot and Cold by Katy Perry. Very popular song. I guess not anymore, but it was a very popular song back in the day. There's a part in there which where she says she's doing something like something, whatever. And there's a part in there where I don't like, right? And I want to edit that out. So I play the very beginning part, and people go, "Oh, I recognize this. I understand this song. I know this song." And they start singing. And then I kill that music. And so during the part, which I think is offensive, or even the radio edit's not good, I say, "Hey, everyone, I want to teach you a new dance. I want you to watch me and do what I do." And they scream, "Ah!" Because that's what usually crowds are going to do.
Yeah.
At least this has been my. If it depending on the crowd, some crowds will say whatever, but some will say yes, let's do it. And then I turn the music back up, and then I go through it step by step, and I literally talking with them and doing it. So again, being not scared of no music, and really kind of working with the music and talking with the music. That's how I find it easy to kind of start that. So, I mean, it can be as simple as small little things where you cut the music off and you yell, "Somebody scream," or things like that. Those are even interactive points as well, and I have a bunch of those that I have in different songs throughout my library.
Yeah, and it's something that you obviously over time you develop, and you're like, okay, I've got this set of 10 songs that I can do different or interactive little bits, whether it's a whole routine or most of the song routine, like Larger in Life, which is the Catholic dance. We're doing pretty much from beginning to end.
Yes.
And some of it, like the Katy Perry one, it's the most of the song, but it's not the exact, we aren't starting the setup until we get into it a little bit.
Yeah, or you make up stuff as you go during those parts that there's really no interactive. And a good part of what you kind of said is the whole song versus parts of songs. That's what TikTok is. TikTok is only parts of songs. In fact, I used to get requests for play Renegade. And I'm like going, okay. So I played it. And literally kids would go on the dance floor and stand around until the one part where they do the little dance, and then they stop and they stand around. And I was like, this is weird. TikTok's killing the school dances. And I think it did a little bit, but it's weird how that will happen.
And it becomes one of those, there's we having to be flexible is that we have to now understand these TikTok trends, which ironically, you mentioned ChatGPT before we went on the air. We were asking it last night to make a couple of music lists, and it literally made, in every music list, it dropped in some TikTok suggestions to, making a wedding playlist. Here's some for the TikTokers in the crowd. Here's some, that kind of a thing. It's become a thing. And now we need to know, okay, so here's the song. Now, how do we play it? It's not, putting the needle on the record and playing it from beginning to end. We're not doing that anymore. It's knowing where that hook is that is needed for that moment. And off we go.
And that's where you can either fade in or fade out. Also, with the TikTok, some of the songs need to be the sped up version because that's what's popular and that's what's trending. For instance, Wednesday, the TV show on Netflix, of Wednesday Addams, she had the little Gaga song in there, what was it called?
Oh gosh,
I forget what it was called.
It's been quite a while, but yeah.
But the version that Lady Gaga has is a slower song where it goes, but the fast one is the one that they wanted to do the little TikTok dance to. And so you have to find certain versions of these songs in order to really be effective and really kind of connect with those kids and the youth.
And in a situation like that with the TikTok,
Excuse me.
in many ways, when we were doing some of the dances to the songs, and they follow me dances where they watch me, you get to a point now with some of these TikTok things is that even how many times are these kids wanting to see a 50-year-old up there trying to lead them in a TikTok dance?
They don't.
They don't, and I wonder so much if because of it being things we brought to them in the early 2000s. Granted, we were still in our upper 30s, early 40s, whatever. But we were bringing them something that was semi-new to them most of the time. And now with the TikTok, they're almost bringing something to us. And for us to do like we did before, where we were, watch me do what I do and leading them in those dances, I don't think it carries the weight anymore because it's them generating, in essence, the things to us compared to what we used to be bringing to them.
It is true. And with the things like TikTok and the internet, it's hard to bring something new. In fact, a lot of things that we're bringing now are things, I've seen it online or I've seen it on the internet because that's where we've learned it that way too. So
yeah, exactly. And we've lost that in some extent, the excitement of, whoa, what kind of a new thing are they going to do? Well, last night the kids probably saw 45 different new dance moves that 30 of them we've never seen before ourselves. So
yeah, it's true.
I mean,
in fact, you sent me a TikTok of three guys who are doing some dance moves to pull out at the next wedding dance.
Yeah,
and I'm like going, oh my gosh, those are so silly. And I'm going, we could have made those up back in the day too, because that's literally what we used to do. That was kind of the fun part about it.
Exactly. It was looking at that and it's like, oh yeah, that. And those are the kind of things that at that particular time when we were bringing in these weird moves to be the filler between during a chorus or a bridge or whatever, it was people would just eat that up because it's like, oh, this is something that we haven't seen before, and then the internet.
100%. And John, I have to admit, I think every time I've danced, people have referred to it as weird moves. So there's that.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not the most gifted.
That's not the point. The interaction doesn't mean you have to dance. Exactly. Interaction means you have to connect with the crowd. If I was going to take one real advice of how to be an interactive DJ, it's connecting. In fact, I was telling you this before we started. I said, I have gotten compliments. Bill, you're the best DJ I've ever seen, and I haven't even played the first song at a wedding dance. And so even bringing these things to wedding dances and doing them during the reception time, I have a game called The List, which is wildly popular, and it incorporates a lot of these things what we're saying is like little dances, little things. But having brides and grooms who want to have more entertainment than just music, that's kind of the whole idea, and those are kind of my type of customers.
Yeah, and that gets to be, those can be a lot of fun. But then, as you mentioned, there's times where they'll sit in the middle of the floor and look at us and say, dance for me, monkey, type of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I have a few of those stories. I like I said, I remember once I went to a church dance. Okay, church dance. I want to make sure you guys know this. It's a church dance, and I had kids sitting on the floor chanting Justin Timberlake. Because that's the music they wanted. I was going in there with my shtick, with my, hey, let's do the Catholic dance. Let's do this little interactive dance. And literally a mom came up to me and said, I understand that you do these things normally for your shows, but this is just a normal dance for these kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened here? Yeah. How did I get my wires crossed? And I had to basically run with it. And I had to change approaches very quickly. So Justin Timberlake was played.
Yeah. But that really kind of feeds into, where we have gone here in the last number of years when it comes to that's become more of the norm as opposed to the exception. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. Everything evolves.
The mob mentality.
Yeah, everything evolves and changes and such. So when did you get the bug to be that more of an interactive entertainer? Take me back. Way back. So, when did that kind of bite you?
Okay, so I started my life as an entertainer in '92, but that wasn't DJing. That was with a band. I wanted to be a DC Talk cover band. I loved DC Talk back in the day. I still love DC Talk. I wish they'd get back together. But big fan of Toby and Michael and Kevin, all those guys. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an entertainer that way. And then 2 years into that, we even made an album and such, and it was kind of fun. But we had all this gear and I had 4 other roommates. We had 5 people living in a 3-bedroom house, apartment actually, and we said, "Hey, let's use all this gear and start DJing." And so we started DJing, and over the years, some of the DJs, all of us in that, they left, they got married, they decided, I'm bored with this. I loved it. I said, this is my channel for creativity. So I started DJing. I started DJing weddings and learning through weddings and learning what to play and what not to play. That was, quite a few years before the internet and all this. And then, I think the interactive things started when I started doing youth rallies. A lot of youth rallies would have a dance. I even had a Christian rock group who was there, and one of the guys, the manager of this Christian rock group, was basically kind of almost cussing out the person who brought in a DJ. Said, "How could you bring in a DJ in here? They're going to undo all the things that we did." And then after I did my show, again, it's a show. It was more of a stage show than a dance. They said, "Oh, I totally understand now." Because between doing like the Cotton Eye Joe dance, where we did this was before everyone did the one thing that they do now with the Cotton Eye Joe dance, I would teach them a thing to do with that, and I'd literally stop the music, we'd teach them this thing, and then I'd play Cotton Eye Joe, and then they would do the thing that I taught them. And that was, things I would do on a large scale. We're talking anywhere from 150 to 600 kids to do these things, and that was just epic when we would do those things. And then I'd teach them the Catholic dance, and again, I wouldn't teach it. I'd just play the music and say, "Watch me do what I do," or I would teach it step by step and do this. But I'd have a lot of Christian music. I'd have just a lot of things where every song was a "Watch me do what I do" dance. I was not leaving anything to chance, and I'm not taking requests at these times, because that would be how it would go sideways quick.
Very quickly, yeah.
Again, having literally a set, a playlist, and doing more of a show than actually having a dance.
Yeah, and that was a recipe that worked, as you say, because once a person, it's like the first kid who came up with a request. It seemed like it opened a floodgate at times with some of the dances. That it's like, oh, all of a sudden everybody wanted to hear whatever song it was.
Of course.
And it's like, but that's not what we're here to do. And
Yep.
yeah. But
And that still does happen. And again, some dances I'm not taking requests, but they'll still come up and talk to me, and I'll say, "Oh, that's a great song. I'll see if I can work it in." And I have no intention of playing it. I'm a liar. I'm sorry. But anyway, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I have a set thing. Me and the admins who are basically paying me the money. We have a plan, and we're approaching it, and we're taking it. But that's where I think I started falling in love with the idea of interaction, and I started to really think that I need to create more, and I started to create more. I created a lot of songs. I would also watch other people. We did things at DJ conventions, like the Shtick Night, where I'd watch, and every time I'd watch, I'd find something that I liked. I said, "Oh, I could do that," or I could do a version of that. I wouldn't just rip it off, because again, I don't think that's cool. But I think basically rebranding and making it your own, that's huge. So
yeah, and there's so many creative people in the industry that a person can learn from. When it comes to that, and those all-star nights, shtick nights, what have you, were incredibly valuable when a person was learning how to be that interactive entertainer. For sure.
What's fun is now I see things online. I literally am scrolling through TikTok, and I once saw this one where this kid was teaching a big crowd at another concert the Catholic dance, and I literally commented on there. I go, "That's totally my dance. Way to go." And I love that. I mean, trust me, it's not my dance. It's a dance. It's just a silly little line dance. But the fact that I see it still happening, I see people still doing it. People, sending me a message. I'm over in Italy right now. They just hired a new pope, and we're doing the Catholic dance. I go, "Oh, that's awesome." I feel good. It's like I made my little mini mark on the world.
Yeah, so. Neat stuff. So today, of course, the teen dances are kind of lesser than they were, 15, 20 years ago. But let's talk a little bit about with weddings and doing interaction with that, because you had already mentioned some of the family dances and such with that. But how have you been able to implement interaction to your wedding shows?
So weddings are fun and different. Like I said, I had one in December this year that I swear all they wanted was any style of line dance. And I'm talking like I could play Footloose, I could play Dancing Queen, and they had some kind of dances, or any like Boot Scootin' Boogie. Every single line dance that I ever thought of or heard of or thought could work, I played, and they loved it. They ate that up. And then I showed them a couple of mine. I even got a request for the Catholic dance, because there were some people who remembered that from my repertoire back in the day. And so I did that. So some shows, it makes sense, and they almost ask for it. And I do share that when I'm through the sales process, that I like to be interactive. But again, they have, at the end of the day, the people who are paying me the money, they have control over what they want, because it's their wedding, their vision. So I give these as options, and I even say, well, here's something that works very well. I even throw the shoe game out there. A lot of DJs I know do the shoe game. I have a version of the shoe game, just like I think every DJ has a version of the shoe game, and that's fine. But I say, this is how I like to use it. I like to use it as a setup for the first dance. And so we'll do this. We'll get all the attention, because whenever people hear something happening, that attracts people. Like, I don't know if you ever driven by a car crash, but people gawk, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm on the dance floor talking and making two adults who are now married raise shoes in the air after answering silly questions, people are attracted to that. And so I say, let's use that to bring them all in. And then the last question will always be, who's going to dance all night? And I just want you to raise both your shoes and then put your shoes on, and then we're going to have your first dance. And then once they raise both shoes, I then walk around the crowd that's now has gathered around the dance floor. I said, now get out those cell phones. I don't want you to miss a moment of this. And I literally instruct them to say, this is going to be something you have to pay attention to. And then we do the first dance. And it works really well. That's been a great setup for me.
Sure.
Again, I hope other people do it that way. But again, whatever works for anyone. Because I would rather do it that way than, dance, 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 interrupt the night, do the shoe game, dance, dance, dance. I think that, you don't want to break up a fun event. So I'm not a big fan of doing it in the middle, but that's just my preference.
Yep.
And I will work with the brides and grooms, because at the end of the day, it's what they want, not what I want.
And even there's some correlation to what we experienced in, I feel at least, with our teen dances of the more interaction in the early 2000s to today. When we used to have a list of 20 different interactive little things that we would have that would go out in a planning process with our weddings. And couples would be like, oh yeah, we want to do this, and many times we were doing 4 or 5 of those things during the course, and that's beyond the specialty dances. Oh yeah. And now today, we have talked, we talked the shoe game or Survivor game or the world's oldest, most dangerous band, or any of the others that that may fit. And I bet I maybe have done 2 or 3 throughout the whole season. That it's just not what it once was. There were times where we were doing 3 or 4 a night at weddings, because it was, people were I don't know if they were not so much expecting it, but it was a tool that enhanced. And I almost feel nowadays is that kind of what you're referring to is that we're dance, 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 and if you're pulling that tool out, it's sending people off the dance floor.
It can.
Yeah, and it's just they don't again, it was an enhancement tool at one time that was almost needed to get people more engaged and such. And I don't feel at wedding dances in the last 5 years, 6, 8 years, whatever, that it's been needed like it was at one time. And I don't know if that's just a maturity level on my side of it, or if the crowds have changed a little bit in their expectations and engaging. I don't know, but we just don't do as much.
Yeah, it's definitely on a maturity level on your side. Don't ever think that. It's more of I think it's just the expectations have changed. And like, even if you think about regional things, like if I do a wedding over in Wisconsin versus over in Minnesota versus over in North Dakota, there are differences. Even like in North Dakota, auctioning off the garter is a big thing, but Minnesota, no one auctions off the garter anymore. So even just those type of things have progressed. Some traditions that we once did all the time are now fading out, and that's fine. Things can change. I'm okay with that. But now for interactive, as far as weddings, think music and think TikTok. Think little things to do during the songs. Like again, I will have many different vocal cues throughout specific songs, or little sets, right? That I'll do. Like I'll do Shook Me All Night Long and To Pour Some Sugar on Me. I always do those two grouped together, right? Or I usually do the Cha-Cha Slide into the Cupid Shuffle. And at the end of the cha-cha slide, it's a long fade out. And so I'll usually get on the mic and say, oh, so you guys know how to do the cha-cha slide. But let me ask you this. Do you know how to shuffle? And a few people get it on that. And I said, I'm talking the Cupid shuffle. And then more people get excited. And then literally it goes, hey, Cupid. And it goes into the song at that point. So timing things like that. Again, the one thing I always recommend to people who ask me how to be an interactive DJ, man, practice, try these things. Literally every weekend, if you're DJing every weekend, try it. If it doesn't work, say, I'm taking a mulligan on that one. Just have fun with it. Own it that it didn't work and say, hey, we're going to try a different song or have a song ready to fade out if it doesn't work. But you got to try. If you don't try, you'll never know. And that's, I mean, how did I get to where I'm at today? 30 years DJing. It's by trying a lot of things, and a lot of things haven't worked. Certainly. But every time I've done it and it didn't work, I knew not to do it again, or I knew to try it differently.
There's the key is to try it differently, because sometimes it was maybe not the right moment or the right crowd, or we didn't set it up right. There's numerous times where something that it's like I knew this should have worked, but I flubbed the setup, and it's like, I knew it after when you flub it, and it's like, can you salvage it? And there's times where you should have pulled the chute and bailed, but nope, you gotta go on through and eventually especially a follow me type dance that sometimes they'll come back and be part of it, and it'll go over well, but that it could have gone over a lot better.
The thing I've learned over the years too is bribery. Bribery works. Bribery works every time. For instance, I don't know if you realize this, John, but I don't know how to juggle. But we always had a point in our stage show where I would try to juggle glow necklaces. And I would always drop them. Guess what? That was on purpose. And I still don't know how to juggle. And I still use that as an excuse to throw necklaces. And kids thought it was the funniest thing to watch me try to juggle when I couldn't juggle. And I'd say, here, throw me one, John. And it'd fly over my head and right into the crowd. Imagine that, into the crowd. Again, it's that whole setup, and try different things and have fun. Again, we're playing up there. And again, the crowd will usually react in a positive way.
For sure. Yeah. The playing and have fun. That was such a part of that process.
It was.
Yeah.
100%.
Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. I'm just checking here. We got a few folks in the chat room with us, so thank you guys for being with us tonight and hanging out as we kind of bounce along. So, where do you think? I mean, you've mentioned TikTok a couple of times. Is there another spot where people who are wanting to maybe find ways to be that opportunist interactionist? Yeah, look at there. But you're finding inspiration through TikTok. Are there other spots where people are seeing things that would be able to say, this is a good resource for learning, what's hot and implementing it into their shows a little bit?
Opportunist interactiveness? What? That threw me off there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
YouTube is a good way to do it. A lot of YouTube shorts, but that's the same as TikTok. Again, those little bite-sized videos that are being created, those work well. So I think that's kind of the main place to kind of source some of this stuff. But again, it's any type of trend. If you're like scrolling on Instagram, if you're scrolling on Facebook, you're scrolling on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, anything, and you see a video and you watch it, or hey, this is the viral video, and someone shares it. Again, if someone's sharing that, that's them saying, I like this. I want you to check this out. And so that usually says, well, someone likes it enough to where it's something that's important to them. And so, yeah, those are the type of things that I would pay attention to. But at the end of the day, again, different resources like even the Disc Jockey News Television. There's other DJs out there. There's DJ groups in there that you can even ask, what's popular, what kind of dance trends. I know that some DJs I've seen will even post, these songs will really, are being very popular right now if I play these at these homecoming dances or these proms. And so I've actually taken some of those and I go, tell me more. And like I look at them and oh, it's because it's a TikTok thing. So I've gone the other way where other DJs have referred me these songs, and I see why after I do a little bit of my own research.
Yeah, and that becomes the thing is that it's like, okay, why is that? And Brian Red's talked about that in numerous occasions of there's a song out. Okay, why is it? Is it because it's used in a TikTok video? Some sort of a video? Is it in a movie that just came out and is hot? Where did it come from?
Movies.
And now, 10 years ago, obviously we were looking at it came out in this movie or that movie, and now it's almost to a T. It's a TikTok video out there. So.
I actually do that in my shows. One of my interactive things that I do, and I do this most shows, even weddings, especially if there's kids at the wedding, I will say, and what movie is this song from? And I will play like Shrek's All-Star, right? And so some of the older kids or even the moms and dads will go, I know that one. That's good. But at the end of the day, I'll play the Encanto theme, or something like that, or the Cars theme, Life is a Highway, depending on what it is. But I literally have a set of like music songs that were more popular probably 10 years ago. So, the junior high kids may or may not know them. But having that, again, that connection, because some of these songs, like the other day, I had a song request for this Katy Perry song for California Girls. And I'm going, okay, I'll play that one. And they were freaking out, going crazy for it. I go, why is this so popular? And I'm guessing it's because it was in a movie recently, or some animated movie had that song in there. I have no idea why they're popular at times, but that's what happens. Is all these movie studios will reuse these songs. If the movie is a hit, then they will. That means something to people because that's part of their entertainment experience.
And that's where you end up. You're at a show and you're like, huh? Go to Google. It's like
100%.
Why is this? Why is this song? Oh, yeah.
And we were even talking about ChatGPT as an option, too. Now, you can even have ChatGPT give you playlists. Suggest some songs that would be very popular amongst high school students. Hey, there's 10 to 20 songs that I wouldn't even thought of. Now I can go listen to them. And here's the thing that no one's going to want to hear. But if you really want to be an interactive DJ, do your homework. Work at it. Prepare. Listen to the music. Know what you're playing. I've preached that since I did a seminar out in Chicago 10, 15 years ago. Basically, know the music. Don't just play it because you said, oh, they requested this Travis Scott song. What could be wrong with that? No, don't do that. Know what it's saying. Know what the words are. Know what the meaning is. And, do your homework. That's my soapbox. I'm off of it now.
And for those of you wondering, it is become very popular here in 2025 because of TikTok. It's being used in a TikTok video. The California Girls, that is.
Exactly.
And that's, the way the world is today.
It is. And it's, again, those trends. There's even there's certain things that will even show you the trends on things like TikTok. And those kind of resources are very good. You can even ask ChatGPT that. What are the current top 20 trends on TikTok? And then you'll know. And then just connect the dots with the music.
Yeah, do a little recourse back and forth. And, you get to figure it out.
100%.
Good stuff, Bill. Yeah. So up next, Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe is going to be on hiatus here for a few weeks as Ben's traveling. We'll be back in June, which isn't that far away anymore. We're not that goodness, that's 2 weeks away. So you guys can go out to DJNTV.com/chill. That's our DJNTV chill room, and a lot of the things, that discussion with other DJs and sharing ideas and asking questions and sharing where the song came from. That's where they discuss things like that a lot, especially on Tuesday nights when they do the Tuesday night music show. So you can head out there and have a little fun and chat with DJs on Mondays and Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock Eastern is when they do their main shows and chat with that. So, Bill, once again, thanks for coming on. It was great to kind of catch up and talk a little bit about the old days.
John, it's been too long. I mean, I remember back when we would be DJing on the weekends on Saturday nights. And then roughly between midnight and 2 or 3 in the morning, we would call each other and chat as we were driving home in desolate Minnesota. So I miss those days, but those were definitely fun. I don't call you anymore because, I know you only do shows that end at 10 because of your age. And that's okay. We still love you. We still love you, John.
That's right. It's 11 o'clock and I'm a complete pumpkin. All right. Thank you guys for being with us. And we'll be back again. A couple of weeks, we'll be back with some other shows and we'll catch you then. Good night, everybody.
Sounds good.